Welcome to The Planet Forward with Preetha, conversations for a greener future, the place where we ignite discussions and uncover innovations driving us towards sustainability. Every episode, join your host Preetha as we explore the stories, ideas, and pioneers making a real difference in our world. Get ready to be inspired, learn, and be a part of the change that propels us forward to a greener tomorrow.
Welcome to Planet Forward with Preetha, Conversations for a Greener Future. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Kedar Gore, with a master's degree in zoology and a PG diploma in management. Kedar has been an integral part of India's environmental NGO sector since 1996. His work spans wildlife conservation, environmental awareness, biodiversity preservation, and sustainable livelihoods. Currently, he is the director of the Corbett Foundation, which has a presence in 7 Indian states. Kedar's journey includes prestigious stints with the Energy and Resource Institute, the Vasant J. Sheth Memorial Foundation, and the Worldwide Fund for Nature, India. He is a respected member of several IUCN commissions and has received numerous accolades, including the 50 Most Impactful Social Innovators Award at the World CSR Congress and the IUCN CEC Excellence Award for South and Southeast Asia. Let's delve into his inspiring journey, his passion for conservation, and the heartwarming stories behind his impactful work. Kedar, it's such a pleasure to have you here today with us.
Thank you very much, Preetha. It's my pleasure and honor to be on this podcast with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the first question I have for you, Kedar, is on your early inspirations and journey. I know, just reading through your profile, I was like so intrigued. Writing your questions, I had so much I wanted to ask you. So I wanted to start with the early inspirations and journey. So can you share with us what initially inspired you to pursue a career in wildlife conservation and environmental awareness? Were there any specific moments or experiences in your early life that solidified your commitment to this field?
Yes, thank you. That's a very basic and very, very important and interesting question for me as well. I belong to a region called Konkan, which is the westernmost strip of land, which runs parallel to the coast of India, west coast of India, in between the Western Ghats and the coastal region. So Konkan region is very special in the sense it is very, very biodiverse. It has got fantastic habitats, and it's full of wildlife, various kinds, mammals, birds, insects, and so on. I spent a lot of time of my childhood, although I was born and brought up in Mumbai. But my parents ensured that I spent a lot of time in this wonderful place, and my native place, which was really a very, very tiny little village in the hills, adjoining a beautiful river with mangroves. So, having spent a lot of time there, it's quite natural that you are exposed to wilderness, wildlife. I started birding at a very early age. My maternal uncle, Mr. Manohar Harsikar, he was the man who actually guided me when I was a child, and kind of, I would say, pushed me and brought my passion into nature and nature observation. Uh, so, having started birding at that age with Dr. Salimali's of Indian birds. The journey started that way, but it was school days, and I loved going into the wild, looking at different places, forests, and observing birds and other things. As I joined college, I think somewhere at the back of my mind, uh, the thing was getting concretized that okay, this is something that I would love to do. I honestly I did not have much idea or any guidance those days. not many people would want to get into this field. But
Yes.
fortunately, there were a few people who kind of advised me to get in touch with uh, Bombay Natural History Society. I became a member of this wonderful organization as a student and started attending their uh, weekend nature walks and some of their nature trails. Uh, then I took up zoology as my major subject as I pursued my graduation, and through college excursions, interaction with my professors, uh, and my continued association with the BNHS, this kind of thought solidified, and I somewhere I thought that this is the only thing that I should do or I could do. Nothing else crossed my mind, and then I started volunteering my time with the BNHS's education department. That time, Dr. Deepak Apte was the education officer. He guided a lot, and he gave me the opportunity to be a part of the nature education camps that he organized, and that's how things started. And thereafter, I pursued my masters, and I still continued going to PNHS Conservation Education Center, attending school programs as a resource person, as a volunteer, and uh, and after MSc, uh, I saw a job announcement. In fact, one of my friends, he said that, okay, this is a job announcement. Why don't you try? I went for the interview, and then I was selected. I was very raw, but I was very lucky that I found good number of mentors wherever I went, and they guided me throughout. And that's how the whole thing started.
Wow, what an inspiring story. It's so heartwarming to hear that right from your childhood, your family has been inspirational. Especially you
Yes,
spoke about
absolutely.
your maternal uncle who has guided you. And, um, back in the day, vast majority of the Indian families always guide children to go into STEM, medicine or engineering. And here your uncle is telling you, go towards Mother Nature versus something completely offbeat, which is not something mainstream in our society. And then you taking the leap of faith and following that. And I like the way you said at one juncture in your life, you realized that this is all I could do. And you went after it, and you took all the opportunities that was awarded to you. And kudos to your friend who found an opportunity for you and recommended and found that what your passion is. So think your family, your friends, and then identifying many mentors throughout your journey also has helped you grow in this career and also as an individual as well. So very nice. That's very inspiring to listen how you actually started your journey, and you're still with that, and leaps and bounds you've grown here. So the professional milestones, I think it's a perfect segue. So your career spans several prestigious organizations. Can you tell us about some of the key milestones and challenges you faced along the way? How did your roles at organizations like WWF India and the Energy and Resources Institute shape your approach to conservation?
So WWF India was the best thing that has happened in my life so far. Uh, I mean, in the start of the career, to get to work with an organization which has done such monumental work in nature education, conservation, and protection. I think I was very, very lucky to be a part of this wonderful organization for 8 long years. And I started off as I said, I was very raw, and a lot of people guided me throughout. I started off as assistant program officer. Thereafter, I became education officer, and then when I finally left, I was senior education officer. The main see, it was, although the organization is quite large, our office, I worked with Maharashtra State Office, which was based in Mumbai, and we operated, uh, I mean, with a very small team. And I was handling the education department, which included everything that dealt with environment education, taking kids, college students, or anybody who was a subscriber, or in those days we used to call them as members, but they were actually subscribers, to various nature walks and nature trails, and uh, basically create campaigns that would spread environmental messages effectively among all sections of the society. And so all this was very, very interesting work. And I also got opportunity to be a part of a few conservation campaigns. Some of them I initiated as well. Uh, so it was a very, very satisfying stint of 8 years with WWF India. Lot of learnings on job, because this was my first job. And so, in the initial stages of your career,
Korea.
one tends to make mistakes. And
Yeah.
I did a
Oh,
lot
no,
of
we all
mistakes.
learn from mistakes. That's called
And
a
yeah,
beautiful experience,
so,
right?
and that's, and through mistakes, it was learning. Uh, After 8 years, I got opportunity to work with Vasanjay Sheth Memorial Foundation, which was a small organization, but very dedicated trustees, and uh, they trusted my ability to uh, lead programs that could help uh, marine conservation.
Okay.
So we did a lot of work on sea turtle conservation in along the west coast of Maharashtra, as well as in Odisha. Uh, uh, then we also did some work. I mean, it was funding organizations. So we funded organizations that worked in the space of marine conservation. I spent about 3 years in that organization, and worked very closely with the trustees, the chairperson, Mrs. Asha Sheth, and uh, managing trustee, Ketiki Sheth. Uh, it was a group that belonged to actually Great Eastern Shipping Company. Uh, then I got the opportunity to work with the Energy and Resources Institute, TERI.
Okay.
That was kind of a shift, I would say, from my comfort zone. I mean, when I say comfort zone, it is environment education, nature education, and conservation. But TERI is not purely uh, an environmental conservation organization. It works on various fronts, and one of the very strong points of TERI is uh, conducting research and applied research that
Okay.
helps in sustainable living, sustainability, and so on. So I was involved in few projects of TERI on those lines. But knowing my background and my bit of a strength in that subject, environment education again was a part of the work that I did there. Did some work with Thane Municipal Corporation schools, and uh, uh, it was good interaction with a lot of people, very, very well educated colleagues. So it was a completely different atmosphere that I experienced, and I loved that, and I still cherish the memories that I spent working in this organization. And then
What an
came,
inspiring career you've had thus far. Just listening to you is like, I feel so nostalgic. I can only imagine what nostalgia you must be feeling.
yes, of course, and then actually came the most important and turning point in my career, and I I got a well, I was in touch with a few people uh, for developing some books, or something that I thought was my skill, and uh, I could help develop those resource materials with the help of other organizations. So uh, I got in touch with Mr. Dilip Khatau,
Okay.
who was the founder uh, of the Corbett Foundation, and I mean, that meeting was wonderful. Sometimes things fall in place quite dramatically, and it was an accidental meeting that turned into an interview, a professional interview for me,
It
and
just changed your course of life.
that changed my complete course of life actually. And I don't know what he saw in me, but he offered me the position of the director as of the Corbett Foundation, and I joined the organization in July 2009, and I still continue working with this organization. I no longer think that organization was founded by Mr. Dilip Katau and the Katau family, Mrs. Katau, Reena Katau as well. But now I think it's my own organization, and
Oh, wow, that's
I
so
I think
beautiful.
it's something that I identify myself with
That's become
tremendously.
a part of you now, the
Yes,
work, what you're
that's become a part of me.
very
So
nice.
15 years is what I've spent so far in the Corbett Foundation. With again, it started off as a small, dedicated organization working at the grassroots level to mitigate human-wildlife conflict and ensuring human-wildlife coexistence
Hmm.
in Corbett National Park. It started off from there. That's why the name was given as the Corbett Foundation. Eventually, the work expanded. I mean, the organization had more people, and this organization started working in Kutch, Gujarat, which
Uh-huh.
is the prime habitat of the Great Indian Bustard. And eventually, we started expanding to other states, Madhya Pradesh, and Assam, and uh, you know, uh, then Maharashtra, Manipur. Recently, we have also added a project in Rajasthan. So work started expanding depending on the capacities that we had, and we kind of developed over the years. And so today we are about 80 odd people working in the Corbett Foundation, and what wonderful colleagues I have. Uh, I learn so much from them every day, and I think that's the biggest uh, I would say incentive that I have be working in this field, learning from wonderful colleagues and so dedicated that that itself is an inspiration for me to go on and achieve much more than what I have, whatever little I have, I would say. But yeah, that's it. That's how my
My
career
God, what a
spanned.
beautiful, inspiring story, Kedar. Just listening to you, because, and then just when you said about Corbett Foundation, your passion just speaks out. This is not just a career for you. This is like your life. The people say work-life balance. I think for you, this is life-work balance, because you everything, whatever you're doing at Corbett, seems to be like integral part of your life, and you're navigating your life around your work, I guess, because I can see the passion in which you are speaking about that. So then the next question is definitely, going to a deep dive into your role at the Corbett Foundation, because you spoke so much about how you got the opportunity there in your the last 15 years, how you've done such amazing things. I'm sure, when you started there, you still are trying to learn about how this foundation works. So, as a director of the Corbett Foundation, what are some of the most rewarding and challenging aspects of your role? Could you share a particularly memorable project or an initiative that had a significant impact on the communities and wildlife you work with?
Well, there are several actually, but I would choose a few and mention it here. The very first project that I wouldn't say it as a project because it's a program, longest running tiger conservation program I've ever seen anywhere in the world. Uh, Way back in, I mean, I wasn't a part of Corbett Foundation then, but way back in 1995, uh, immediately after the Corbett Foundation was established, uh, it was realized that to ensure human tiger coexistence in Corbett National Park and surrounding areas, there was a need for an organization to, be a bridge between communities and the forest department. Uh, Tigers always, preyed on livestock, and they still do,
Mm-hmm.
leopards as well. And so people need to be paid compensation for the losses they have incurred. But sometimes this compensation, at least in those days, about 20, 25 years ago, it wasn't very promptly given, and that delay created, a feeling of antagonism in people's mind towards tigers and leopards. Okay, somebody, if you're looking at a farmer who depends on, whatever little milk that animal gives, or whatever animal power that animal has to work in the fields and all. So that loss is tremendous, and
Yes.
if that is not compensated
His
in
livelihood is
time,
impacted. Yeah.
then his livelihood is completely impacted, and that is quite serious actually. So Corbett Foundation started a scheme which provided uh, immediate ex gratia payment to those affected farmers, and it was a very small amount then, and even today, it's not a very big amount, but it applies that balm
Mm-hmm.
of okay, we are there for you, we do understand the problems that you have faced, and before, by the time you receive the final compensation from the government, this is something, something small that you can
It's
have
like
as
a
a
temporary
ex gratia.
solution, a temporary
Yes,
solution.
and
Yeah.
that worked tremendously. I mean, I really appreciate the foresight our founder, Mr. Dilip Khatau, had, that if this was done, this would help immediately in you know keeping those uh, uh, flaring thoughts that would
Thoughts.
come in
Yeah.
somebody's mind in control. Uh, and one of our trustees, Dr. M.K. Ranjit Singh ji, who is a doyen of Indian wildlife, actually, very, very, very well-known personality, and so he in fact suggested this idea that the Corbett Foundation should get into an arrangement like this, and he was also a part of WWF-India. So WWF-India was roped in, and then a partnership began in 1997, and jointly this interim relief scheme is what we call it, was initiated then, and I'm really proud to say that even till today this continues in Corbett Tiger Reserve, and Ramnagar Forest Division and some other forest divisions that are adjacent to Corbett Tiger Reserve. Wherever there are livestock depredation cases, our team promptly goes there and ensures that this little ex gratia is provided to the farmers, so that they feel involved in the conservation. So this is one of the, and this worked marvelously, because those days there were a lot of incidences of tigers being uh, poisoned.
Oh my God. So
Carcasses would be poisoned and tigers eating, and they would die eventually. So those incidences have eventually
reduced
going reduced, and today, in the last 10 years, there has not been a single, or more than
incident.
10 years, there have not been a single incidence where any such death has been reported. So this is the impact of a good long-term conservation program, and this is how conservation should be approached and looked at by any organization that is working for a wildlife conservation in
Oh,
anywhere, not only in India, but anywhere. So this is one
what
the program
No,
that I
no,
would
that's
like
such
to
a
mention.
beautiful, example you gave. Thank you, because here you're not only, making sure that the wildlife is also saved, but also the impacted individuals, right? Because when, like you said, if they lose their livelihood, uh, their behavior can be very negative, because
Yes.
they'll have this animosity towards that animal who basically stopped their livelihood. By just providing that interim solution to ensure that they have something going, and then a promise of making sure that the full payment will come eventually, that actually gives them that solace, right? Okay, they'll be taken care of. It's not like you're going to leave them high and dry. So that actually really helped. So wow, beautiful. I'm learning a lot. Trust me, this is a area I'm very passionate about learning, but I don't know anything. So through you, Kedar, I'm learning today. So thank you. So I want to now pivot to your personal stories and experiences. Like I'm sure, like there are so many stories this past 15 years just in Corbett Foundation you have. But then, is there any heartwarming story from your fieldwork that has stayed with you over the years? And how do you balance the emotional highs and lows that come with working in conservation?
Okay. So, anybody working in conservation, I would certainly say that we have to see the glass half full and not half empty, because that's the only way one can remain positive despite uh, not so encouraging developments happening as far as nature conservation is concerned. Not only in India, everywhere globally.
Everywhere, it's all across the globe.
It's a big issue today. Uh, but there are so many, I would say, encouraging stories which keeps us going. In fact, I would rate that local community supporting conservation, I think, is the biggest uh, aspect of positive aspect of conservation in India, at least. Uh, because local communities, whether we are talking of tribals or any forest dependent communities, staying anywhere in any wilderness areas, whether it is a forest or around a wetland or somewhere uh, near the Sundarban mangroves or anywhere in this country, uh, their whole culture is completely uh, interlinked with,
Intertwined with the
yes, completely with nature
nature.
and the wildlife found there. It's a part of their life.
It's like
So,
the
and they
indigenous people, right? The indigenous people who live in those
absolutely,
parts.
yeah,
Okay.
and these people have been living like this for many years, uh, and they have accepted that if there is a crop loss to an extent, it is for the wildlife that is there. And when people tell you this, you know that, okay, we know that 20% of our crop fields will be eaten by, deer or whatever wildlife is around. When they have a meager income of uh, very, I would say, few thousand rupees a year, and when they say that 20% is okay to be given to wildlife, I think hats off to them.
That speaks volumes,
where
right?
where can you find an example like this anywhere in the world where people have accepted wildlife as a part of their life like this, even if it's a loss for them? So this itself is a very inspiring, uh, I would say, story in India, working in India, and this is applicable in uh, any of the states. It's not particularly of any state that I'm talking of where only we work, but across India you can find such people with such beliefs, and that's why wildlife is still, found in such large numbers in our country. Uh, and this is the biggest strength India has. The culture is Wildlife is a part of the culture and tradition. So these when you look at these people and their struggles to live in the landscape, which is not, obviously it's not an urban area, so you would have uh, problems of electricity, you will have problems of getting good schools near your houses and all. Yet they are able to live very happy lives, and there's a lot to learn from them.
They're very
You know,
content with what they
very
have.
content with what they have, and but I would say the new generation that is there, even in those villages, they are getting some
Carried away by
unnecessary,
they're getting carried
unnecessary
away.
carried away by, you know,
All
so-called
the glitz and
so-called
glamour of the cities, and they're
yeah, urban
forgetting what
urban lifestyle,
urban.
and that
Yeah.
is going to be a challenge to deal with in the coming decade. Let's hope that India manages to
sail through that
channel
as well.
all those energies to something better.
Yeah.
So
No, that's a very beautiful story, Kedar, because they have very meager income, meager source of food and livelihood. Even in that, they're willing to share it with the wildlife, which also, there is this Indian word we say Vasudeva Kudumbakam. Everybody, it's an inclusive family. All the
yeah,
living beings on this world in this world lives together, and that's the only word which came to my mind when we were talking, because they honestly accepted the biodiversity, and they said we're all part of this ecosystem and the universe. So what we have is going to be shared with you. So that's a beautiful story. And I want to pivot to your recognition and awards. You have received numerous fellowships and awards. How do these recognitions influence your work and motivation? What do these accolades mean to you personally and professionally?
well, awards, recognitions, accolades, these keep you going. Actually, these
Absolutely.
are uh,
It motivates you.
motivates one to keep going. And it's very important that somebody is recognized for whatever little he or she has done. And I'm lucky in that sense that I've received some of these awards. Uh, and also it helps professionally in the sense, you get noticed. When I say you get noticed, it doesn't mean that I get noticed. My organization gets noticed. And that is very important
Who
because
you
if we are
stand for.
working, yes, that is very important because I work in a charitable organization space, NGO space, and we all depend on the funds that would be, uh, you know, that we would get from the corporate sector or from other, funding sources that are there nationally, internationally. So unless people know about what you do, how will you kind of generate more funds? How will your work translate into getting more support for the work that you have been doing there? So this is very important, and that's why I think even a small recognition somewhere is and will be helpful in the long term sustainability of the organization that is there and the work that our organization does. Because NGOs have to be sustained, and that sustainability can only happen if there is strategic partnerships with companies, like-minded companies who believe in the work that you are doing. And when that happens, of course, it would help the cause as well. Because how else will we find funding coming to wildlife conservation? And even today, I would say, if you look at all the charitable causes that are there, whether it is humanity or any social causes apart from wildlife, uh, wildlife gets the least percentage of
Funding.
funding. Yeah. And there could be various reasons. People, I mean, what people may not be knowing or thinking is uh, there is no impact seen immediately. Now uh, any corporate sector would want to see, okay, if we have invested this amount or if we have
They
given
want to
this
see
amount
the
as a part of
ROI.
project, they want to see what is the result of that or impact
ROI.
of that.
Everybody wants the
Now in
numbers.
yes, so in environment or wildlife conservation, you won't be able to see numbers like this unless, as I said, I'm going back to the same program that I talked about, Indian Relief Scheme. 25 years is what it has taken for the scheme to be continuously running and helping in tiger conservation in that landscape. If you look at the tiger numbers 20 years ago and tiger numbers today in that landscape, there's a huge increase. And I'm not saying that it's only because of the scheme that we implemented for all these years. It is the combined effort of the forest department, many other people. However, it must be noted and recognized that this program, long-term program, has played a very, very positive role in tiger numbers going up. So the impact is seen after a long time. I'll give you another example of restoration work that we have started, because there are a lot of forest areas which uh, are degraded. Uh, the forest quality is very, very bad. Sometimes the forest is nowhere to be seen, only invasive species are seen. So we have taken it up on as one of the major thrust areas of restoring the degraded forest areas in central Indian landscape. We have also started doing this restoration work in the Great Indian Bustard landscape in Kutch, Gujarat, where the grasslands have been taken over by prosopis, which is a very uh, uh, notorious exotic invasive species that is found in many of the parts of West India. So this work also needs time of at least 5 years, 6 years to see the results. So I mean, through your podcast, I would like to make this appeal to many people who are watching eventually, that wildlife conservation must be given priority and time, so that uh, the desired results can be seen in about 5 to 6 years time. Till that
Thank you.
time,
Thank you
the
for
support should be
explaining
there.
that. And I think a little bit of an education and awareness also needs to be given to the general public about how wildlife conservation, biodiversity, environment all are interconnected, and it plays a very integral role in this, Mother Earth to be sustainable. I think that is a missing piece. People don't understand, and to what you rightfully said, everybody in this day and age, everything is fast. They need immediate results. If they invest in something, they need 10x results the next day. It's not going to happen when you are doing it with Mother Nature. She takes her own time. When you sow a seed, it takes so much time before the seed actually becomes a small shrub into a tree or into whatever it is the intended outcome is. So we have to give ourselves the time and energy in order to see a positive outcome. So thank you for explaining that. And I sincerely hope and pray that people who watch this podcast understand that this also requires a significant amount of funding, and organizations like yours, Corbett Foundation, definitely is doing so much work for decades. So there's so much to be offered as well. So with that, I really want to go with your future vision and advice. Uh, what are your future goals for the Corbett Foundation and your personal journey in conservation? What advice would you give to young environmentalists and conservationists who are just starting their careers?
So basically, there are two set of questions that you've asked. One is about what are uh, my vision or my goals in Corbett Foundation, how I see the organization in the next maybe 5 years or 10 years. As I said, we believe in taking up long-term conservation programs, and restoration of habitat is something that we have taken up on a large scale. I mean, when I say large scale, it's large. For us, it may be very small, or for big organizations. But we know for sure that these are the areas which need restoration efforts. And we started this work in 2018, and today we have some decent success stories to share. We have seen uh, with good protection and maintaining the plantations that we do. So far, I would say more than uh, 300,000 indigenous trees and bamboo have been planted over about 1,500 hectares of
Wow.
degraded forest land. And we have not only planted, we have nurtured, maintained. And there are some areas you can see as, small forest. I mean, when I say small forest, the trees are not really big enough to be called as a large forest trees, but they are growing into that stage. And we can see the results. We can see tigers coming there. We can see other mammals coming there and other wildlife species coming there. And that's the whole purpose of taking up projects like this. Whether it is a similar thing has happened with the grasslands in Kutch. So many, more than 20, more than 70 species of birds we have recorded. Because we also monitor the wildlife that starts inhabiting these areas. So as a long-term vision, I would say these are the projects that we as Corbett Foundation, I would like to make a larger appeal that many organizations can take up with the support from corporate sector, because doing random tree plantations here and there does not lead anywhere. People may, it's a feel good factor that I have planted tree, but if I don't take care of it, if the tree doesn't grow into, the sapling doesn't grow into a tree eventually, then your whole efforts are only limited to the social media post that you have done. So you have to invest in, planting of trees or restoring of habitat in the right place. And that is going to give long-term results. That is something that we look forward to in the next maybe 5 to 10 years time. Now, your second question of giving advice to young conservationists, I don't know if I'm educated or qualified or experienced enough
Absolutely, you are. I
do
don't
that,
think there's no
but-
better person.
But I can only say that young generation need to be more patient about their careers. What I have realized is, there is hop, skip, and jump attitude. Okay, I work in a place, spend about 1 year, 2 years time, and then I get a next opportunity, and okay, I go. I mean, everybody has should explore better opportunities. Of course, I did in my career as well. But there is some time that you need to invest in a place that you work, because if especially in the work in the area of conservation, the results are not very fast. So if you want to add a particular successful project in your CV, then by spending 1 year, that is not going to help.
At all. No.
You need to
Not
spend some
learned
time.
anything.
You
No
will not.
experience.
You will only be adding. Okay, I worked here. I worked XYZ organization and ABC organization. That's all. Nothing more will happen. So a lot of people uh, we have come across is with this kind of attitude and approach, and they are very good. I mean, if they're better than many of the people that I have worked with and myself. But with good mentorship and better advice, I think they can do wonders in their lives. So
Patience is the virtue, and patience is
that
key.
patience is very, very essential. That's the key.
Awesome. Thank you. So the last question I have for you is on your publications and contributions. You've co-authored and co-edited several publications. Can you tell us more about your book, The Great Indian Bustard, a pictorial life history, and what inspired you to write it? And why do you think it's so important to document and share these stories with a broader audience?
Well, most of the writing that I have done is in popular segment. I believe that knowledge has to be shared more widely than to a restricted audience. And that's the reason I've been writing more in newspapers and magazines and stuff like this, which can reach out to many people. That doesn't mean that I'm, trying to say that scientific writing doesn't mean anything. It means a lot. Now to come back to the question of Great Indian Bustard, yes, I co-authored that book with my mentor and my colleagues. And the idea came from Dr. Asad Rahmani, who is India's foremost expert and scientist who has worked for over 40 years on the conservation of Great Indian Bustard. He's our scientific advisor as well, and he is a former director of Bombay Natural History Society and a very, very well-known person. So he suggested that we should come out with a compatible book on the Great Indian Bustard, arguably one of the most endangered species of birds in Indian subcontinent. So we did that book, and we released it as a part of IUCN's World Conservation Congress in Hawaii, and that was the first book, and that still is the only book which has been written exclusively on the Great Indian Bustard. And it's important to bring out publications like this, because how else would people know that there is a bird which only 150, less than 150 remain in the world today, and most of them are in India. And so after we did this, the Corbett Foundation has been talking about Great Indian Bustard conservation for over a decade now, and a lot has been talked about this species at various levels, at the government level, at the grassroots level, everywhere that we go. Even through this podcast, I'm highlighting this issue because it is a very, very important issue today, and our few decisions can decide the fate of this bird, whether it will live or become extinct in the next 5 years.
Wow.
So it's that important, and that's the reason this Great Indian Bustard profitable book was published. And yeah, there are many other important publications. Recently, we also, as a Corbett Foundation, we edited one book which compiled information on Asian elephants. And there were
Wow.
authors from, not only authors from India, but from Sri Lanka and Bangladesh and other elephant range countries in South Asia. So we have been, as Corbett Foundation, taking these efforts that important species are being talked about in a right manner. The information should go in the right context to the readers, because misinformation can completely change the narrative. It can go against the species. There are a lot of things that can happen if we don't bring in information in the right context, in the right way. And that's what recently I would love to talk about this. But recently we also brought out a publication. It is a children's storybook. Okay,
Wow.
it's titled "A Tales of Kana," and it's done in English and Hindi. Hindi particularly important because we want it to go to every child in the Central Indian landscape,
The rural
where
villages everywhere.
the villages should, the people in the villages should read, school students in that areas should read, because it talks of wildlife and human coexistence, what myths and misconceptions people in that landscape particularly have about wildlife, whether it is snake or a bird or sloth bear or whatever. So it talks of many things which are illegal, which people believe are okay to do because it's what they have been believing all these years. So such kind of publications have to come out in the public domain as much as possible. And so yeah, I mean, there are many such publications that we have brought out. And
Beautiful.
again, to for the interest of the grassroots, because that is where the wildlife and human coexistence uh, makes a difference. I living in Mumbai, there is no human wildlife coexistence for me. But then people who are living in Kana, Bandhavgarh, Corbett, Kaziranga, somewhere else in Tiger Reserve or any other wilderness area, that is where coexistence matters. If those people are with conservation, are given right information about conservation, that is where the success of conservation will be.
Beautiful. And please share more information about all the publications. I'd love to promote that as
Sure.
part of this podcast and also in all the social media, because, like you rightfully said, these kind of information should be widely spread. And these days everything is social media, so if we can share those information so it goes a farther reach, will be something I think will benefit everybody. So thank you so much, Kedar, for sharing your incredible journey and insights with us today. Your dedication to wildlife conservation and sustainability is truly, truly inspiring. We appreciate your time and the invaluable work you continue to do. As final thoughts, would you like to say something to the listeners today?
Well, I I've said enough, I guess, but everyone has a role to play, I should say, whether it is a conservationist like me or a person doing a job in sales or any computer related, IT sector or wherever, you need not be a conservationist always to support and help wildlife. And that understanding of what wildlife is very important. Sometimes people also confuse wildlife with general animal welfare, wildlife conservation with general animal welfare. Well, that is another topic of great interest to many, but I wouldn't dwell much on that right now. So whatever you can do, it's very important that you take up some conservation initiative at your own level, whether it is usage of saving water. I wouldn't say usage of less water, but at least do not waste water, do not waste resources that you have, uh, because all this, when you open the tap, the first thing that should come to your mind is this is coming from some forest somewhere. Some dam has been built somewhere where the forest has been completely submerged for years. At the cost of that forest and that wildlife, we are getting this water because, we'll be, most of the people who would see this podcast would be in the cities and towns. So that thought must never, ever be forgotten from your mind. And if you have that connection, then yes, you can do wonders. If and try to get the right kind of information about wildlife conservation.
Wow, that's
So
such an inspiring thought, what you said, right? Like everyday use water, we all, very conveniently forget how the water source is from. And we just think, oh, just turn on the tap and we drink water or use the water, and sometimes we waste water as well. But that kind of conscious thought and living consciously about how many, animals and other beings have sacrificed their own lives and land in order for us to lead this comfortable life. I think that should be a thought. So thank you. To our listeners, thank you for joining us on Planet Forward with Preetha, Conversations for a Greener Future. Remember, every small action counts in making a big difference. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversation, and let's continue to move the planet forward together. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Planet Forward with Preetha, Conversations for a Greener Future. Together, we're exploring the innovations and stories that inspire us to think and act for a sustainable world. If you're inspired by today's conversation and want to be part of this journey toward a greener future, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode filled with groundbreaking ideas and actionable solutions. Let's continue to make a difference, one episode at a time. I'm Preetha, reminding you to make every day count for our planet. Until next time, keep moving the planet forward.